Hey everybody, this is D Hunter bringing another action figure review. Today we're going to be looking at the McFarlane Toys Bloodshot action figure. This is an action figure based off Bloodshot from the upcoming film starring Vin Diesel. I can definitely see his likeness in the action figure. Now Bloodshot is a comic character. He's from Valiant Comics, which is one of the smaller comic companies out there, not DC or Marvel. This guy here was some kind of soldier who had his memory wiped and all kind of, I think, experiments done on him with nanites injected into his blood. His superpowers include superhuman strength, speed, agility, stamina, reflexes, endurance, a healing factor. He's a master at hand-to-hand combat, shape-shifting, and he has cyberkinesis. I read that stuff off Wikipedia, as you can probably tell. This is from McFarlane Toys. I'm really curious to see how it's going to fit in with the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse figures. It looks like it's done with the exact same scale and style. So let's go ahead and check out the packaging here. As you can see at the bottom, Bloodshot. Here he is in the package. Looks like he has a stand in the background, a big knife, a machine gun, a couple pistols. He's got armor on his legs. He's got jeans on. He's got a big bloodshot in the middle of his chest. As you can see, kind of got the likeness of Vin Diesel here. Bloodshot at the top, McFarlane Toys here with the Spawn logo. It says ages 14 plus. Absolutely nothing going on the top there. One side here, got Bloodshot at the top. Little spot here. And then Bloodshot with the O and shot as sort of a red bullet or bloodshot. Other side here, pretty similar. Bloodshot, the guy here on the bottom. Got a barcode in case anybody needs it, as well as a bunch of credits. And then on the back, there's probably not going to be any other figures in this series. We've got Bloodshot just kind of by himself. Now, I don't know anything about Bloodshot. I'm a huge comic collector, but I thought this guy might make a great sort of stand-in Batman villain, kind of like Deadshot. So with no further ado, let's crack this bad boy open. Alright, now that we got this figure out of the package, here he is with all his accessories laid out. He does come with 2 pistols, a large knife, a machine gun, and a display stand. But before we look at the accessories, let's check out the actual figure. So, need to remind you, this is based off the movie version of Bloodshot, not the comic version, starring Vin Diesel. This here is from McFarlane Toys, and is not part of the DC Multiverse, as this figure is not from DC Comics. He does have the same articulation style as the DC Multiverse and Fortnite figures. So, you can see his head here, definitely has a nice Vin Diesel likeness to it. Red eyes, completely white skin. I saw the trailer for this film, and the majority of the trailer, he didn't look like this, but I'm assuming this is going to be his main look. But in the film, he's got a Bloodshot logo on his chest here. Black t-shirt looking pretty good. You can see he's got these butterfly joints on the side here. Looks like double jointed elbows. You can see he's got some camo pants on, holsters on there, good looking belt. This is probably how a lot of the DC figures are going to end up looking. Armored parts, his armored shins. Really looks like the same articulation style as the DC figures, which is pretty nice if you ask me. Overall, pretty good looking figure so far. Next, let's check out his accessories. Starting off with the boring stuff, this here's his display stand. It's a perfect circle. It's got Bloodshot at the bottom. It's got one peg here for the peg hole on his feet, and it's a very thin stand. This is the exact same kind of stand that the DC Multiverse figures come with, except they say DC at the bottom. I'm not much of a stand guy, so the stand is going to go into a huge bin of stands, presumably never to be seen again. Next, let's check out all of his weapons. Let's go ahead and do so by starting off with his pistols. This pistol here, pretty nice looking sculpt. It's got a black handle. It's got the trigger there. It's got a lot of different sculpting aspects, and the silver has a little bit of weathering at the barrel, it looks like. Overall, not a bad gun. I'm pretty confident this is the same pistol made for their McFarlane Fortnite figures. And I went ahead and pulled out my McFarlane Fortnite pistols. I actually have 4 of them. They are 100% identical, the same sculpt as the Bloodshot figures pistols. Only difference being in the little crevices back here, his have some dark paint in there. And I find it very interesting that they use some exact molds from the Fortnite figures for the Bloodshot figure. That tells me there's nothing from stopping them from using some of the same molds and interchangeable pieces with their DC line as well. And here he is holding both of his pistols, arms extended, pointing them forward. One minor complaint about this figure: this is as far inward as you can position his arms. The way his chest and shoulders are designed, they just don't go in any further. Overall, it looks pretty good though. And of course, he can hold his pistols in many different positions or poses. And something I definitely like and thought was pretty cool about this figure is he does have a functioning holster on his side here. Takes that pistol, push it in. You gotta push in pretty hard to get it to go all the way down there. But I love a functioning holster on an action figure with removable pistols actually can come out, not permanently sculpted in there. This guy has 2 of them, and I like that a lot. This will allow you to utilize all 4 of his weapons at the same time. Here he is holding his knife, and this isn't just a knife. This thing is huge. There's a pretty cool handle, got some spikes on the front, and the actual weapon has a lot of sculpting and detail to it. Not a bad weapon at all. I'm assuming this is something from the film. And here he is holding his machine gun, just like the pistol. His finger goes into the trigger very nicely. This thing has nice detail. It's not all necessarily one color. It's got some black, some gray, some different washes, a little bit of red in the barrel there. And if you prefer, he can sure hold this weapon with both hands, using his left hand to support the front of the weapon. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at his accessories, next let's check out the height of this figure. So this guy here, from bottom to top, is sitting at about 7.25 inches, which translates to about 18 centimeters. Next, let's check out this guy's articulation. So, starting with his head here, of course, it can rotate around from side to side. He can look down a little bit, not too much. He can look up a whole lot, which is pretty cool. I must say, when looking at this guy's face, one of the first things I'm reminded of are the working Joes from the game Alien Isolation. Just something to think about. His shoulders here, they're on a ball joint. They can go out quite a bit more 90 degrees, move up, down, all around, all that fun stuff. He does have a butterfly joint, I believe it's called. There's a little bit of articulation, extra plastic between his shoulder and chest area, and it should allow his shoulders to go forward and back, but honestly, this butterfly joint kind of sucks. It barely adds any articulation at all. It really feels pointless on this guy. He's got a bicep cut below that. Double jointed elbows below that, and they go all the way in. His wrist here, there's a ball between his forearm and hand. It can rotate at the top of that, and they can also rotate at the bottom of that as well. It is hinged. Mine is so tight. You can see it kind of goes down and then back up. And you can rotate it at the bottom and then hold it into place, rotate the hand back around, and then it would be hinged in a slightly different area. He's got a ball joint here in his chest, can rotate around, can also allow him to go forward and back a lot. He's got another ball joint below that, can rotate around, and can also go forward and back, not too much, but put the 2 and 2 together, gives him a huge range of motion in his torso area. Very nice. His legs go out about that far. Looks like they're a little bit obstructed from the sculpt. They're on, I wouldn't exactly call it a ball joint, but it's kind of similar the way it's designed inside of there. And he can move independently of that, but barely at all. Then go forward about that far, which is really not very much. But this guy here is a little bit obstructed the way that his legs are sculpted. And then go back, really not at all. He's got double jointed knees. Go that far back. Then his foot here, there is a ball joint or ball between the shin area and the foot. You can't really see because it's his boot, and you sure can't access it. So his legs can rotate around. They can go up and down, just really not too much. He does also have toe articulation here. Now, if you could actually get a hold of the ball joint, you'd be able to rotate it around, hold it in place, rotate his foot back around, and then it would be able to rock. But you can't really get to it, so it's not very effective on this guy. It's very similar articulation to the DC Multiverse figures, and the way his legs and wrists are designed is very similar to the DC Collectibles DC Essentials figures. Next, let's check this guy out compared with some of their action figures, starting off by looking at him with some other McFarlane toys, and then checking him out with some other figures from various lines and different companies to see how he fits in both scale and style-wise, in case you want to know what lines you can mix him with. Here he is, next to a bunch of the brand new McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. These guys here are the 7-inch scale. These guys here have very similar articulation and scale up great with this guy. And when I heard they're making a figure of this guy named Bloodshot, I'd never heard of him before. I honestly thought maybe he was from DC Comics. He immediately made me think of Deadshot here. These characters really aren't that similar. But when I first heard about him, I thought, oh, he's probably just an assassin going around shooting people. Bloodshot. Makes sense. I actually did some research. I found out this guy to be a really cool character from a different comic company. The trailer for the film looks really cool as well. I'd love to read some material with this guy in it. These Deadshot figures, from left to right, we've got 2 of them from Mattel. Then we've got 1 of them from Figure Arts. The next one is from Mafex. Then, of course, in the center here, we've got the McFarlane Bloodshot. And then to the right, the next 5 Deadshots are all from DC Direct and DC Collectibles. And here he is, next to some more of his McFarlane Toys brothers. Here in front of you, you've got 5 different lines from McFarlane Toys, all 7-inch scale. And then here he is, next to some DST, or Diamond Select Toys. Then, next to some NECA figures. And here he is, next to some DC Direct and DC Collectibles figures. And here he is, next to some Mattel wrestling figures. And then here he is, next to some Mezco 1/12 cloth soft goods action figures. Then here he is, next to some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse figures. Here he is, next to some Mafex figures. Then next to some Hasbro Marvel Legends. And then here he is, next to some SH Figure Arts action figures. Then next to some Jazzwares figures. So overall, I'm going to say I like this figure. When he came up for pre-order, I didn't know who he was. I thought he looked cool, and honestly I think his comic look looks a little bit cooler than his movie look, but it's definitely similar. The Vin Diesel likeness is really good. I'd love to get another version of this based off the comics. We can have both versions. When I first saw him for pre-order, I thought to myself, I'm going to use this guy as a Batman villain in Gotham City, kind of similar to Deadshot, an assassin named Bloodshot, and I may still do that, but I think it's really cool to have him as a figure from the film as well. His sculpt is pretty nice. It does hinder his articulation some. I really like his pants. I really like his armored shins. His holsters are good. His t-shirt chest area. I mean, it all looks pretty nice, but I really don't like how his shoulders can't move in and out as much as they should. I don't like how his legs can't move in and out as much as they should. It's almost like the jeans sculpted poorly. There's a lot of things if they just slightly alter the sculpt, it could really utilize his articulation that is prohibited. If I were to rate this figure, my first thoughts were giving me a 7 out of 10. I do like the figure, but honestly some of the articulation issues, I'd say he gets a 6.5 out of 10. Teetering on the verge of a 6. As far as the way the figure looks, kind of 7 out of 10 worthy, but some of the issues brings him down to 6.5. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add it to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.